Hey listeners, and welcome back to the Manning Up on Real Estate podcast. Today we have a little excerpt from our IPG meeting last month, and we have Paul Hecht, and he is revealing his secrets to how you can earn up to $4,300 a month tax-free over the next 7.5 years in your TFSA account using new developments. Paul cracked the code on how you can make your registered accounts work for you in ways that most people don't even know about. This strategy is a game changer and could literally change everything for some investors. We hope you enjoy this episode, and don't forget to rate it 5 stars. You're listening to the Manning Up on Real Estate podcast with your host, Cameron Manning. We bring you the industry experts each episode who will help you man up on your real estate career. We're going to bring Paul up. Paul is an investor, developer, speaker, best-selling author of Everyday Real Estate Millionaires, How Average People Really Do It. He's formerly a Canadian Real Estate Wealth Magazine Ask the Expert columnist, and now he's a real estate trainer for celebrities like Scott McGillivray of HGTV's Income Property, which many of us know. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, give it up for Paul.
Well, it's nice seeing familiar faces and names, and so welcome again, and welcome to the new people who I've never seen or heard anything about this. This is fun. I started about 20 years ago doing this, investing in real estate, and I started attending investor clubs just like you're here. And it's always nice to see people gathering and sharing knowledge and sharing information. So if we can just put our hands together and thank Cameron for doing this and putting this on. Let's give him a round of applause. And we'll get right into it. So here we go. We're going to talk about developments and using your RSPs, TFSAs, and MFTs, which are mutual fund trusts. All right, so I started, like 20 years ago, I started just buying houses with suites. I would fix them up, sell them, rent them out. I would do lease options, rent tones, assignment of contracts, all the creative stuff that you could possibly do, because I didn't have a lot of money starting out, so I had to start out with something creative, and so that's what I did. And I managed to acquire 22 properties in 24 months by doing that. So I didn't own any properties. I didn't qualify for anything. I didn't have great credit at that point, but I was willing to get out there and just hustle and do everything I could for other investors who had capital. And I just put myself out there and went for it, and managed to find one investor, and they said, yes, let's do one deal. And then they were satisfied, and I got another one, and we just kept going. And they had the security, they had the properties. They had 100% of the control of the property. I just had a joint venture agreement with them, just saying, as long as I do X, Y, and Z, I get a percentage of the profits, right? Not their capital. That was their money. And that allowed me to build up my own capital, my own cash. And then from that, I was able to buy my first apartment building, because with multifamily residential financing, they're not looking at your personal income to qualify. The building is qualifying, the income from the building. And so I had no idea. I thought you would have to have like a $500,000 T4 income to buy apartment buildings, right? Because I was used to residential financing. So that was like a dream come true. When I saw that, I was like, oh my goodness, I just need to get the cash together, right? So I got cash from 22 properties instead of trying to buy one, right? And helping other people do that. And from there, then I still hold my apartment buildings today. Those are my cash flow for life. I will probably never sell those, because otherwise, if I do, I might have to go back to a job. And I think right now I'm unemployable, so that wouldn't be a good thing. So I wrote the book Everyday Real Estate Millionaires, just showing how the average person does it. It's 4 short stories, kind of like Chicken Soup for the Soul, but with real estate investors. And so now I've gotten into development, not just multifamily. Now I've gone into the development, and I've also spent a lot of time in Costa Rica, because I like Costa Rica. It's nice and warm, especially when Canada, the older I get, the colder cold seems to get in Canada. And so I like spending time in the winter down in Costa Rica. And while I was down there, I was like, what am I going to do down here? Well, they don't really have apartment buildings down there, right? It's all a lot of single family homes. So I thought, well, maybe I'll buy a lot. I split it up into 5, and now I'm building homes. And we just finished our first home down there, that guy right there. And it's kind of fun, just building a house, and fully furnished, pool, everything else. It's like $500,000, and it's kind of fun doing that. So now I've got my developments in Canada, and then homes in Costa Rica, and I still keep my cash flow apartment buildings in Ontario. That's where I've got those ones. And so tonight we're going to talk about one of the projects that we're doing in Kelowna, and that is that beautiful building right there. That is done through an MFT. So let's just talk about MFTs for a second and how this all works. And really, the permitted investments inside are allowable, the RSPs, the RIFs, the LIRs, TFSAs, and the RESPs. Right? So the government of Canada allows us to have a registered account, right? That's your RSP, that's a registered account. It must be self-directed, meaning you get to decide what investments you're going to buy. You're going to buy this stock, that mutual fund, whatever. That's called self-directed. So even if you have a LIRA, and it's because the LIRA is called locked in, so most people think that's you can't do anything with it. As long as it's self-directed, you're allowed to pick your own stock, your own bond, right? So then you've got your administrator. Most people have the banks is your administrator, the RSP, right? So if you have that, then you've got your investments. Okay. So these are all the eligible investments that you're allowed to do inside all those plans, the RSPs, the TFSAs, LIRs, everything else. Most people have no idea you can do all these investments inside the RSP plan. Most people believe you can only do this top one right here, which is cash, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, GICs, and ETFs, right? And the reason that is because none of the big banks will administer any of these. Okay, they only administer the top line. The big reason is because they don't know how to get paid on all this. If you lend your money out as a mortgage, how are they going to get paid on that? Right? They can't charge you for that service. The other thing is they do lending, right? So they don't want you competing with them. So that's why they tell you you can't do that. So you might go to the bank and say, I want to do private equity in there. And they're going to look at your plan. They're going to say, you can't do that. And they're right. You can't do that inside your current plan because they're your administrator. Okay. So if you want to do that, you have to change your administrator, which means you have to go to a trust company. Right. So you can just transfer your existing RSP to a trust company. You don't collapse the RSP. You don't break it down. You don't do anything like that. You just transfer. You can transfer the whole thing. You can transfer a portion of it to a different trust company. And all that trust company is now that's your new administrator. Okay. So most people just do this, and most people have mutual funds, right? Most people's wealth is in their house, their equity, and the second amount is in their RSP, and that's in mutual funds. The majority is in mutual funds. Challenge I have with mutual funds is the fee. Now I don't have a problem with someone charging money to manage your money. I think that's reasonable. I think that's fair. But the way it's charged, I don't think that's fair. So let me give you an example. Say you have a mutual fund and say it makes 7%, right? You would have a $7,000 gain, 100,000, 7%, $7,000 gain. But what the fee does is the fee actually erodes it because say you have a 2.5% fee. The 2.5% fee is not on the $7,000 gain. The 2.5% fee is on the $107,000. Okay? So could you imagine building your net worth and your advisor taking 2.5% of your net worth every single year? That wouldn't really make sense, would it? So that's why I don't like that. I would rather say, okay, make me $7,000 and we'll do a 50-50 joint venture, right? Because then they get rewarded and I get rewarded. And if we don't make anything, you don't get anything. Because when you do it this way, a 2.5% fee is actually 38% of the profit. Because they're taking 2.5% of $107,000. All right, so that's why I don't like that model. That's why there's other models that you can use. And many of you, might not be paying a 2.5% fee. Maybe you're only paying a 1.5% fee. Okay, well, you're paying 1.5% fee, a $7,000 gain, $107,000. 1.5% fee still takes 23% of the potential profit. I don't think that's a fair deal. Because also, if it goes down, they still take, like if you lose, if you don't even make 7,000, if your portfolio goes down 5,000 in that year, they still take 1.5% of the $95,000. That'd be like me saying, hey, let's do a joint venture. I'll go find the property. I got the teams, right? We'll all make lots of money. We'll have lots of wine. Oh, but there's a little clause in there that says, if we don't make any money, I'm still going to take money out of the project every single year. You guys okay with that deal? You'd be like, Paul, like, here's the door, right? Well, if you're in mutual funds, that's pretty much what you're doing already, is that kind of a deal. All right, so yeah, so you're actually sometimes paying to be in it. So just be aware of how the mutual fund is charged, how the fees are charged on the deal. The other thing is we can, say you had, this one's just showing, yeah, this is showing the same thing. So you see here, this mutual fund with a 1.5% fee, $100,000 is $7,000 gain. They get $1,600 of that. You got $5,300. Your actual rate of return is 5.38, even though your fund will show, the statement will show 7%. So there's a difference between what your statement shows. It shows the fund made 7%, but if you calculate your actual rate of return, it's actually less. It's only 5.38% in that example. All right, so just to be aware, good knowledge. This is just showing 100,000 with a 2% gain, because the average gains are between -2 and about 4% on mutual funds. Now, there's other people who trade stocks. They do much better. They're self-directing. They're more aware. They're maybe trading ETFs. Those are better. There's other things inside that we can do with our plans. But we're still in the, I think there's still better things you can do with your registered plans. Because the other thing is, with a mutual fund, it is an unsecured investment, right? And most Canadians are putting all their retirement money into this mutual fund, thinking they're going to get to a certain point, and they're thinking this is going to be retirement, it's going to be safe, it's going to be safety. Well, it's unsecured. If your bank told you you're going to put your whole retirement money into an unsecured investment, how many of you would go, yeah, that sounds like a great deal? You wouldn't, right? But that's why they don't tell you. Right? And that's why we have these meetings, so everyone can just be aware of what we're actually doing and investing in. Even if we had a 1% there, yeah, so $100,000, $2,000 gain, you give them $1,500, you take your $497, so you actually paid to be in that deal. Okay, so let's get to the most common things that we do, real estate investors do, is we do private lending, we do private equity, right? Inside all your registered accounts, you can lend that out as a mortgage. Other things you can do is you can lend that into private equity. So what's private equity? That's what we're going to talk about tonight. So private equity is REITs, limited partnership units, and mutual fund trust. So a mutual fund trust is kind of like a mutual fund where it has units in it, right? But a mutual fund trust is designed for real estate. So you can buy real estate properties instead of buying stocks on a market. Okay. And the fees are completely different. So let's get to that. So in order to have any of these, number one, you have to have a self-directed account. All right. So if your registered accounts are with the banks, you're probably gonna have to switch them over to a trust company. And you're gonna have to get a new administrator. So this is a project in Kelowna that we're working on, but let's understand development first so we know where we're getting in, right? Because you got to know that also. Okay, so with development, you have what's called phase 1 and phase 2. Phase 1 and phase 2 is, you ever seen like a model center or like a trailer go in and they're going to build like a 200-300 unit tower? Right, and you see the trailer going, then you can walk into the trailer, you can pick out your finishes, you can get floor plans, you can pick out your cabinets. That's like general public can go in there, anyone can go in there and put down a deposit on a condo that's going to be built in 3, 4, 5 years, right? So that's phase 1 and phase 2, right? Anyone ever seen that? Like on day 1 where it says phase 1, grand opening, 50% sold out. Anyone ever see that? Okay, did you ever wonder how can they do that? Like they're just opening and they're saying the 50% sold out. Like I thought that was false advertising when I saw that. I'm like, they can't do that. That's like lying. So I walk in, I'm like, oh yeah, tell me about that, get all the information. And I go, how are you 50% sold out? Right? Because I'm now gonna test them. And they're like, oh, well, we have people buy before. I'm like, before what? I go, before the general public, before we open the door. That's why it's called phase 1, general public. I'm like, oh. And they go, and then once we sell at a certain number of these units, then we'll go to phase 2. We're going to increase the prices. You'll get less, like the units aren't as good. You don't get as good finishing packages, right? The choice goes down the line. I'm like, oh. I go, so there's people buying before. I walk in the door. He goes, oh yeah. I'm like, so how do I get to that?
Call the Kelly Fry team because we're first in our
Exactly. He says, well, you got to know someone. Yeah. I'm like, how do I get to know someone? Right? So what I realized over time was there's usually 5 to 7 different phases of pre-construction, right? That happens pre-buying parties. So generally what happens is a developer or the sales team will go to all the realtors. And they'll say, okay, realtors, you've got clients who are buying properties. Let's do a VIP party for all the realtors before we go to the general public. Now, before they do that, they often go to certain brokerages. They say, okay, this brokerage has 100 realtors. We're going to come to you. And your 100 realtors can bring their clients. We'll do a VIP party for them before we go to all the realtors. Before they do that, they go to the elite realtors. Elite realtors are the ones who their client has bought a condo in a previous project. So they already know the developer, right? So they have a VIP party for them. Now, before they do that, they go to the platinum realtors. The platinum realtors are the ones who have sold hundreds of condos before, right? Like for this particular developer, hundreds, like lots, right? Sometimes the platinum realtors don't even have VIP parties. They just say, developer will say, here's 10 condos, go sell them to your people, and they're gone that same day, right? Before the platinum realtors, you got the major trades. These are often the trades who have worked on a previous tower with the developer before. So they'll go, okay, we're going to build a new tower. Do you want one of the condos, right? And now we're still buying an individual condo. We're doing a deposit on a condo. Now, before that, you've got the developer. Okay, so the developer buys the land. They go through all the zoning, all the application process, right? All that stuff. So you can invest directly with the developer. So when you invest directly with the developer, that's called private equity. When you invest with the developer, you're no longer buying a condo. At the end of the day, you don't get a condo. You get profits on all the condo sales. Okay? So if you did want a condo, well, then you'd have to kind of get in here somewhere. But when you work with a developer directly, or you invest directly with a developer, you're now called something. Anyone know what that term's called? Anyone know what that term is? What are you now considered once you invest with a developer?
Private lender.
Limited partner? Yeah, and or friends or family, F&F. Oh. Okay, think of it as friends or family, because now so what's happened when you invested with the developer, you get an offering memorandum or a term sheet. You take that to your lawyer, you take that to your accountant. They go through all of it. They go through the disclosure statement. You know the cost per square foot you're building it for. You know the cost per square foot you're selling it for. You're getting all the disclosure documents. You know what stuff's selling for today. So you're going through all that, right? So you become, like the whole project inside and out, essentially, right? So then when the developer comes to the friends and family and says, hey, do you also want a condo? We're about to release those. Well, that's where you get the very best deals, is right there. That's before it goes to anybody else, okay? So what we do is PhD MFT. So that's the MFT. So that is our PhD, Paul Hecht Development. Isn't that kind of fun, right?
And you don't need a PhD.
And you don't need a PhD. You certainly don't. So the PhD MFT, what we do is we go and we source developments. We go and talk to the builders, talk to the developers, find good opportunities. And then because now we have the fund, we can now flow registered money through that and go and invest with that developer directly. So that allows all of our investors to get directly invested at the same level with the developer. So we'll often do a joint venture. We'll get shares in the LP in here. We'll do that kind of a structure to protect our investors also. And so an MFT structure looks like this. So an MFT allows the MFT to use registered funds and cash. And then inside that fund, you can have different projects, different buildings. You could have one that is for land assembly. You could have another one that is a condo build. You could have another one that's rental income. And this is kind of the structure like a REIT, right? Everyone heard of a REIT before? So with a REIT, what you're doing is you're investing into the equity of, say, 10 apartment buildings across Western Canada. With that, you get a share of 10 apartment buildings. If there's any potential liability, it can impact all 10, okay? With the difference with the MFT is you get to pick which specific building you want to invest in. And if there's a lawsuit, say over here on this one, it doesn't impact these other ones, okay? So you get to be very strategic about which projects you want to go into with an MFT. And these are called silos, okay? So that's kind of the main difference between an MFT and a REIT. So this is a really awesome strategy, utilizing the TFSA and private equity and combining those tools together, right? Because all the information's out there about what a TFSA is good for, what private equity is, but the magic is putting those pieces together and making them work, right? That's why I have planners, that's why I have other people helping oversee the whole thing. So this is private equity, okay? So inside the TFSA, you can put $102,000 in as of 2025, as long as you were 18 in 2009. That's the cumulative amount, right? So if you have 50 grand in TFSA now, you could top up to 102. That'd be the max you could do. Next year will probably be another 7. So you just keep adding to the TFSA. It's not like the RSP is based on your income, right? RSP is based on income. You put in a certain amount. TFSA, you don't have to make anything. That's what you can put in there. So let's now take a model, and we're going to put 102,000 into the TFSA, and then let's say we find a development deal that's paying 15%. All right, so they offer anywhere from, I've seen 8% to 20-ish percent, 21% on some deals, right? And it just depends on the developer, depends on the profitability. Oftentimes I say, if you're in the 6-7% in private equity, there's not enough in the deal. That's how I look at it, right? Some people say, you know, if you want a higher rate of return, you have to take more risk. Yeah, okay, so that's not true, right? But who taught us that? The banks, because if we put money in the bank, then they can lend out money, and then they make money on our money, right? They're the ultimate no money down at the end of the day, right? That is the whole banking industry. So they want us to be happy with 1 or 2% on a GIC. That way we put it into the bank, we put it into savings. Once it's in savings, they can lend it out. So that's why they love to tell us if we want a higher rate of return, we have to take more risk, which is not true, right? If you think about it, you put $100,000 in the bank, and they give you what, $1,000 or $2,000 a year in interest? No worries. And now they lend it out at, say, 5%. They make $5,000, right? So they make 5, they pass 2. So they make $3,000. They put in no money. They have $100,000 mortgage as security, right? So where's the risk? We took more risk and we got a lower rate of return, right? So it's just the knowledge, it's understanding that. Okay, so let's say now we find a developer who's offering 15%, right? So with development deals, you put your money in. It's not like private lending where you get paid monthly. You get paid at the end. Once the building's done, all the units have been sold. Then you get paid out, right? So we find our developers saying offering 15%, and now year 1 we're making $15,300 per year, and it's just growing. So let's say we find a 2.5-year deal. So that means we're $15,300 per year plus $7,600 in year 2.5. So now we've turned our $102,000 into $140,000 in year 2.5. Now each year you'll be able to contribute about $7,000 per year into your TFSA. So let's say you just put $7 grand in per year into your TFSA, just let it sit there, or put it in a bond, put it in a GIC for a year, right? Collect a little bit of interest. But you're leaving it there so that when this pays out, and some developers will offer bonuses, right? Like say there's a $2,000 bonus. So now you're going to roll that into your next development deal. So now you're working with a different developer, the same developer, it's just a different project. So now your money's still growing at 15%, but now you start seeing the compounding effect happening, right? You start seeing where year 1, you're getting $15,300 per year. Year 2, you're now growing at $23,400 per year. So that's the power of compounding. So that's why sometimes the smaller deals make more sense than a longer deal, because even if you have a developer offering, say, 18% on a 5-year deal, well, you're not compounding until the 5th year. Whereas the one offering maybe 15%, but it's half the time, you're compounding. You're already making more by doing that, right? And that's just a number. You just run the numbers on that. So now at year 5, you've now turned your 102 into 214. Plus now you take your 777 that you put in each year, right? Adding your 7,000. So now we've got 777, that's 5 years, okay? That you're putting in your $7,000. And now you're up to 238,000. Can you still see that over there? Now year 6, now you're growing at 35,000 per year, right? So you see you're growing more than double already at that point. So now you're 7.5. You now have $341,000. Okay, and now that $341,000 is now inside the TFSA, which is a tax-free savings account, which means you can take out $341,000 completely tax-free, which is about the equivalent of about a $550,000 RSP. Because if you took a $550,000 RSP, take off your 40-50% tax, you're down to that number. How many of you love this so far? I love that. And it's only a $102,000 investment. We're not talking about like a $500,000, $600,000, $700,000, you know, apartment building you got to go buy, and there's your down payment is $500,000, $600,000, $700,000, $800,000, right? So it's a nice strategy to align with rental properties, and you know, a lot of people do this. They kind of get in place. It's very passive, because the other thing is now that you're at 341,000, you could just take out 341,000, go use that for whatever you want. Or what if you just took that 341,000? Now you invest that with 3 developments. Right, so now you're spreading it out, right? Because you want to manage your risk also, right? You just don't want to have it all in one pot, so you put it now into 3 developments. And now you live on the 15%. Well, how much is that? $51,000 per year. Okay, so 15% of 341 is 51,000 per year, and that is completely tax-free too, which is what, the equivalent of 80,000 as a job, right? Or if you did this, if you break that down monthly, it's about $4,200 per month, completely tax-free in 7.5 years. I don't know very many financial planners who can do that, starting with $102,000. Do you guys know anyone? There we go, challenge you. There you go, now you got your model. Use it, right? I mean, everyone should be doing that. So if it was a couple and they each did this, they would each have, as combined, you'd have double that. You'd have $102,000, which is $8,500 per year or per month, completely tax-free in Canada, right? Just imagine telling your friends, yeah, we make $102,000 completely tax-free in Canada. They'll be like, what are you doing? Who likes that, by the way? Anyone like that?
It's okay.
It's all right. It's a start.
I don't know. Let's see what else you got.
My bag of tricks. All right, so now where do we find, now that's 7.5 years. If you had someone who had 10 years to go, well, they could end up with $493,000 by doing just one more development deal. And now 493, they're probably putting 100. They're probably into 5 development deals at this point, right? They're putting 100 grand into 5 different development deals. And now if you lived on the 15%, that's 73,000 per year tax-free, or 6,100. Or as a couple, you're now making $150,000 a year, completely tax-free. In Canada, that will keep up with inflation, because most people won't. Yes, you had a question.
2 questions, actually. So I want to understand the mutual fund trust payouts. It's per property. So there are 2.5-year projects. Is the payouts happening during the 2 years, or you're actually waiting the 2.5 years? It's averaging per month.
Yeah, good question. So the question, just so you can hear online, the question was, with the development deals, is there any payouts during, or do you have to wait till the end of the term, which could be 2.5, 3, 4 years, right? You have to wait till the end. That's typically why development deals pay a little higher rate of return over private lending, because private lending, you know, you might get 8, 9, 10, 11%, but you're getting it monthly, whereas private equity deals, you got to wait for a little longer. And that's typically why you get higher rates of return with it. Okay? Yeah, you had another question?
My second question then, so what type of projects are these that are the 2.5-year deals that would fall in this sort of profile?
Smaller deals. So not this won't be the 200, 300, 400 unit towers. Those are 3, 4, 5, 6 years projects, right? So you're looking for something that's 20 to 50 unit kind of range. That's typically going to be a 2.5 to 3 year timeline on something like that. Yeah, the smaller. I might just happen to have one on here. Just as an example. Does that answer the question? Okay, great. All right, so, because here's the reality. 47% of Canadians make less than $50,000 a year. Only 10% of Canadians make $174,000 a year. So that strategy I just showed you was $150,000 tax-free as a couple, right? Because this is like as a family. So you'd be in the top 10% by just doing that one strategy. And most people will, and that's $102,000. That's all you got to get together, $102,000. Most people think you have to have thousands and thousands, millions of dollars in order to be in the top 10%. You don't. You can just start today, and 7.5 years, you'll be in the top 10%. Because the average Canadian is going to collect their CPP and their old age security, which is going to be $17,000 a year. That doesn't even cover like heating bills, right? Even here. Imagine Albertans. Yeah, heating bill. That's their heating bill right there. Here you go. All right. So now let's talk about this one. So let's talk about this project. So here you go. Here's an example of a smaller project, right? There's 11 luxury condo homes. Great location, large 2 to 3 bedroom plan, maximizing return and leasing. So this is a project that we're working on right now. We've aligned with an amazing builder in Kelowna. So let's see what you guys know about Kelowna. Okay, it's got 142,000 is the population right now. Anyone know the top 5 industries in Kelowna? Wine, lumber, tourism, healthcare.
Development.
So that'd be real estate development. Okay. All right. Let's see what we got. Employment by the top industries in Kelowna is number 1, healthcare. Number 2, manufacturing. Number 3, technology. Agriculture. Number 5 is tourism. Okay. Used to be a sleepy town. Tourism, go do your wine, all that stuff. And no, it's completely shifted now. Tourism's like number 5. Healthcare accounts for 26% of all jobs in the Okanagan right now. Okay, so the largest private employer is KF Aerospace in Kelowna. Can you ever, right? Okay, largest private employer is KF Aerospace. There are more people employed in BC tech sector than mining, oil, gas, and forestry combined in the Okanagan. Okay, tech sector is the Okanagan's largest economic powerhouse with an estimated 930 companies, okay, contributing $2.5 billion annually to the economy. There are a lot of very high-paying jobs and employment in the Okanagan, especially Kelowna. A lot of entrepreneurs. It's amazing the amount of like houses that are, well, I mean, they're like, $1.5 to $2.5 million, and they're just all over the place in Kelowna now. It's like totally shifted in the last like 15, 20 years. Okay. Plus, it's also got the geography for people like to retire up there, right? So it's got that for boomers, seniors. Okay. So this particular project, and who has not been to Kelowna, by the way? Just put up your hand real quick. Everyone know Kelowna? Okay, good. All right. So you come across the bridge. All right. So you're coming from Vancouver here, come across West Kelowna, going to Kelowna. Here's the downtown core, right? So that's up here, downtown core. Down here is where the project is. All right. So let's zoom into that location there. That location is, right? Do I have a pointer here? I don't want to. Is it the top one?
Yeah, I just don't know if it'll show up on that screen now. You try.
I just don't want to
Yeah.
kill it. Yeah, no, it's pretty faint. Okay, no worries. Okay, so between the bridge, this is the Heritage District in Kelowna. That's the site. What's anyone notice on here in that area? Hospital, yeah. What else? Campus, yeah. There's a college, university, yeah.
Big lake.
The big lake? Yeah, good. Yeah, so it sits between the hospital and the Okanagan College. And this right here is a very trendy area with your yoga studios, coffee shops, all that. And then you've got the Heritage District along in here. You got the bike paths, tennis courts, all the waterfront here, okay? Beaches. All right, so we know that there is the site right here. Okay, so it's actually these two lots right here. And what do you notice about that now? What do you notice about that site? Nice site. Yeah.
Close to the park and lake.
Yeah, you can walk across the street. You're in the park. You're at the beach. Yeah, tennis courts right across there. This is bike lane all coming through here. This is the Heritage District. Basically ends right here at that street, and then you've got all these homes, multi-million-dollar homes, all the way down and all the way along the lake. Okay, so one of the most desirable areas in Kelowna for people to live. And so this is where the project is right there. That's the property right there. So you can see the tennis courts across there, bike lanes all through here. Okay. So location. That's a AAA location for sure. That's why we like this one. Actually, how this project came about was I had done a different development in Kelowna a number of years ago. And I found a builder who I just really got along with. And I hired him to sit with me when we were designing the building with the architect. Because when you sit with an architect, you can have a lot of fun, right? That can get very expensive very quickly. So I like to design things. I like to be like, yeah, let's do this. I'm ready to get excited. But the reality is if you get too excited and then you do all your drawings for that and then you put it out to tender and now it comes in your budgets, it's history, right? So I didn't want to go through that because that costs money when you're holding properties. So I hired a builder who like I just got along with. He's like amazing. He knows costing, he knows pricing. I had him sit in there with me to design it. So, the architect's like going, yeah, we can do this, like huge build, pitch on the roof. I'm like, yeah. And then the builder's like, no. He's like, we can do this roof line. I'm like, oh, that still looks great, right? But I didn't know that, but he knew that. And so that's why I paid him to do that, because it was a great investment of time, right? All right, so here's the project, okay? And so with this project, the other thing I learned on the last one that I did, and I did all that, I did that with my own capital. It was like my practice run at like development, right? Just to see if I could do it. And so I went through a rezoning application. I had to get a variance on the project because I needed like 6 inches along a landscape buffer because it just wasn't quite wide enough. And so it was like just a small variance, right? Well, as soon as you have a rezoning application and or a variance, then you got to get neighborhood approval. Everyone can come in, and they're not just saying whether they like the 6-inch landscape variance. They get to comment on the whole project. They get to tell the councilors if they're going to vote for them this year or not, if they're going to approve the project, and it just gets ridiculous. So that was not fun. So this one requires no rezoning, learn my lesson, and no variances, and it's already zoned for the project. There's no public consultation required. Like no neighbors can have any input. It doesn't matter what they say. I'm like, yes. Exactly. And yeah, so it's all rezoned and ready to go. For that, it sits within the building envelope, meaning if you want to go like a little higher, a little wider, that's called you're now outside the building envelope, like the allowable box that you're allowed to put on there. Now you have to go for a variance. So now it goes to neighborhood approval, right? So I'm like, no, we're not doing that. So the engineering requirements are already approved. Fortis requirements are already approved. Preliminary letters are received from the Kelowna. And we submitted this for the development permit last week when we were in Kelowna with Dave. So that's the stage that it is at. Comparables. This is a similar style. This is about the only similar kind of thing in Kelowna. And it's a 3.5 story, basically 4 story, right? And a similar number in units. There's a 10-unit building. And they sold all those units now. I think they have one left. They might have one left. But it is, as you come across the bridge and you go through the city and you go through Waterfront Park, it's over here in the industrial park. Everyone know where the old mill was, the lumber mill, base of Knox Mountain. So this is the industrial park. So the city of Kelowna has torn that down, and it's going to probably be under construction for the next 15 to 20 years. Okay, so super loud, super noisy. This is the only kind of residential area that's over there, and that's where that project sits that has been sold out. Those are the finishes, so higher level finishes. We're doing all 2-bedroom and 3-bedroom units, larger units, because there's a ton of builder grade condos on the market. So what happened was a lot of the builders started, their projects 2-3 years ago, and they figured everyone's doing Airbnbs, so we'll just do bachelor suites, and we'll do 1-bedrooms, we'll do Murphy beds, we'll do them as small as possible and just sell as many as we can. Well, now Airbnb rules change, and now everyone's sitting there with all this inventory, and everyone kind of forgot about the 3-bedrooms for the people who are in their 50s, 60s. Their kids have moved out. They want to downsize. They want to travel. They don't want a 1-bedroom or a junior 1-bedroom or any of that stuff, right? They want a 3-bedroom. A lot of people are working from home these days. Both people are working. They want an extra room when the kids come back for Christmas and holidays and all that. And so that market has been completely underserved. There's barely any of that inventory out there, and that's the market that we're going after, okay? So these were 2-bedrooms. There were a few 3-bedrooms on this one, so those ones did sell. We have the average cost per square foot, and it came in at $1,100 a square foot for that particular project in the industrial area. We have run all of our numbers based on $1,100 a square foot. And that's for our project in this location, okay? We just had a recent comparable. So anyone who wants to invest in this, you would get the full financials for the project. You would get the term sheet. You get all that, right? So we just had solds in Kelowna. Couple recent sales happen here. So we just look at the 3-bedrooms because that's really what we're going after. And it just shows, there's some buildings that are selling for $2.5 million for a condo, $3.4 million for a condo. So those kinds of sales do occur in Kelowna. The most recent one sold for $1,400 a square foot. And that was a 3-bedroom, upper unit, very similar square footage. I don't even think it was a 10-foot ceiling. I think it was an 8 or 9-foot ceiling on that one. And it's in a big condo. It's in a big building. So it's like spring break, right? And most of the buildings are either in downtown core or they're in very busy areas. They're right on the lake. They're for parties. They're there for renting. They're there for having fun, going drinking, having lots of noise, going jumping in the pools. That is not what this building is designed for. This building is in a quiet area. It's a 3-bedroom. It's got a rooftop patio up there. But it's the doctor who's going to work at the hospital and just wants to lock up and go travel. And they want to have a really nice place that's got really great finishes. They can do some entertaining, but they don't want to live in a noisy environment like what most of the properties are out there. Okay, so that's the 3-bedrooms. Just shows your cost per square foot, average sales, and yeah, the most comparable just sold for $1,400 a foot, and so all our budgets are on $1,100 still. Okay, so that's the comps. Yeah, average $1,164. Our budget's $1,100, and comps are coming over that right now. So that's that project. There's our floor plans. Nice. Can't you imagine just driving in there? So we got one small unit on the main, and then we've got 3 per on this one. So these are all 3-bedroom units across here. There's a 2-bedroom unit across here, and that's a 3-bedroom unit over there. This is the lake, the blue line over here. All right. And then, so second and third floor have the exact same floor plans. And then once we get up to the top floors, those are 2-story. Okay. So yeah, you got like 18-foot ceilings up, and those will be looking towards the lake, looking towards the city. And the comps I just showed you, the one that went for $1,400, that was a 1 level. It didn't have high ceilings or anything. So we're in good shape. And yeah, and then all the top floors have rooftop patios with hot tubs, kitchens, and then this will be a common rooftop deck where people can, we're gonna have an atrium in here. So you can do like a garden in the wintertime. You can do garden throughout the whole season. People can garden, they can sit up there, they have their glass of wine, talk to their neighbors while they're gardening. And so the builder that we selected is Dave Gervais. He's the guy who I hired way back to help me, like stay on budget, stay on track, and it actually did, which was awesome. And so Dave's Red Seal journeyman. He did his Alberta apprenticeship, licensed residential home builder since 2006. He's done all his core competencies, designed and constructed 18-unit townhouse project. The thing I like about Dave is that he personally invests into his projects. And he comes at it from an investor perspective, not just, hey, here's a builder and charge your GC fee, right? He builds his profitability into the profitability of the project. That's how he gets paid, which is what I love, right? And so he's done a lot of infill in Kelowna, completed 32 semi-detached dwellings on multiple sites, has employed a staff of 25, invested heavily into professional development, so he really takes care of his team. And you can see that from all the guys on site, and they love Dave and they love working for him, which is a true testament, especially in today's industry, right? Completed 14 projects in Kelowna, and this is some of the projects that Dave has been involved in. So that's the townhomes he's done. He's done single families. There's a 6-unit. So he's got the competency to carry out the type of project that we're looking at. And the market position, I would love the builder to explain like the market position, because Dave actually brought this to me. Okay, so I was down in Costa Rica and he sends me a text. He's like, hey, Paul, I got this project. I want to get your opinion on it. I'm like, okay. So he sends it to me. I go through all of it. I'm like, hey, Dave, you around? And he showed me and I'm like, this is exactly what I'd be doing if I was in Kelowna right now, right? But I'm in Costa Rica doing that. And so we get on the phone. I start talking to him and I'm like, Dave, this is awesome. I go, I love this. I love this, and I go, so how can I help you? Do you need do you have all the funding? He goes, no, I'm a little short on the funding, but I got the team, I got the builder, I got all the, I got them under contract. I'm like, okay. I'm like, so if we come with the cash with our fund and you're the builder and you do your expertise, we can bring this together. And that's how this project came together. So I'd like to introduce Dave Gervais. He is here with us tonight. He drove in from Kelowna. You can give him a round of applause. Come on up, Dave. Does he need?
I'll knock you up there. There we go. You betcha. We're prepared.
All right. So I just wanted Dave to kind of explain the vision of not just the project, but the vision of how he builds and why he builds the way he does. So I'll step over here, Dave. You'll be okay, right? All right.
Oh, yeah.
Go, Dave.
I'm feeling more and more privileged to work with Paul and his team. Very, very knowledgeable. He's very creative and fun, and just his humility is what I think everyone loves about him. And everyone I'm meeting that knows Paul has just so much respect for him. And in the industry, I haven't worked with anyone like that. So thank you. I've been designing, building, and selling pretty much townhomes in Kelowna for 9 years now. And in 2023, I've been through 3 or 4 ups and down cycles, and nothing stays up forever. And I was really worried. And when the interest rates went up, I saw what was happening and I felt it. But I also saw really high-end real estate. It was selling, upper mission, a sale, like not even on the market for 30 days. And there was so much inventory on the market. And down in the Pandosy area, there was also 450 Park that they dropped all the tarps and everyone was able to see their stucco and their brick. And they were selling townhome or condo units well above $1,100 a square foot. And I was just asking myself, why is this happening? And it just brought me back to when I was working with my father as a teenager and just entering the workforce. And we installed custom window coverings, but it was draperies and blinds. And these were packages that were worth $50,000 to $100,000. And I was able to be inside of the most beautiful homes in Edmonton. And my dad just, he said, this is an industry you want to stay in because successful people are always planning, they're innovators, and regardless if the economy is going up or down, their plans are moving forward. And I came to Kelowna building family townhomes in the mid-range and just giving extra quality. So, sorry, I lost my train of thought for a second. I asked myself, why are these homes selling, these high-end condos? And that's what led to me. And then I've always had a bias for French country architecture. But in Kelowna, it's all West Coast craftsmen or Okanagan modern. And they're beautiful, beautiful. That's what I've been building for 9 years. But now it's starting to all look the same. Everything's just like whitewashed. And I looked at this property and then found out the property next door was available, and it's on Abbott Street and the Heritage District, the hospitals. And I'm thinking back of all those lawyers' wives and doctors' wives and politicians that I was installing very ornate draperies for. And I thought, oh my goodness, maybe French Renaissance architecture could be built there. And then a whole vision just started developing, and I just understood why the other projects weren't working. And I'll tell another story. Is just even last Friday, I had a coffee with a carpenter who's really frustrated because there's been 3 site supervisors on his project in the last 6 months for a 6-story apartment. And he's got 3 different nationality groups that don't speak very well English. And the site superintendent's being rotated through, and he's up there cutting out beams on the 6th level of the roof because they weren't supposed to be there. And just there's just no guidance, there's no leadership, there's no, the safety is it's very concerning. And I explained to him, this is why I'm a developer. Like, I get to, this is my piece of property that I can have all the control over, but not in a bad way. So that being vertically integrated, I hire carpenters. I don't subcontract it out. We do the foundation, we do the framing, we do the finishing carpentry, we do the exterior cladding. And in that, you eliminate these profit margins with all of the different subtrades. But as well, I'm a bit of a perfectionist, so I get to guide them and make sure the quality is exactly what it needs to be. At 514 Design Build, I put 2 or 3 individuals all the way from first year to journeyman up to 4th year, 3rd year, 2nd year. And then I took my really experienced guys and put them through estimating, project management, site safety courses. And I was able to, it was really exciting. Like, I attracted some of the best young carpenters. Everyone was below the age of 40. Clean cut, no drugs, no alcohol. And the culture on we had 3 different crews, and the culture was just, it was awesome. And I feel now like I'm a father, though. It was a class of 2001. I had 4 young men that were my oldest daughter's age. She's gonna be 24 now. And they all came from different high schools and didn't know each other. And it was just funny, but they all knew my daughter. And I just took care of them like they were my sons. And it was just different. I wasn't their boss. Like, I genuinely cared. I showed them. I would get mad at guys because in the trades, everyone wants to be macho, and one guy will want to show up and lift as much as he can. And I'd love to, I would always interrupt them and just say, hey, like, you don't have to prove to anyone. I've got a couple of compressed discs. I can't feel the bottom of my foot, because I was like that. And your body doesn't last forever. So I put us together as 3, 4, 5, 6 so that we can do it together, and everyone cleans, everyone lifts, everyone builds, and everyone understands the blueprints, and all the specifications go into it. And contrast to the way the industry norm is right now is 5% equity. I mean, they're stretching out everything they can. So they have to take the lowest bids on subcontractors and the lowest bids on materials, and they have to always bring their costs down and add extra units. This building typically would have 30 units in it, and this I've only put 10 units. the bachelor suite in the bottom was just to give me some leeway with the setbacks. And then I've been really criticized because I'm a smaller operation, but that's, you know, I hand every key to every owner, and all 50 units that I've bought, I was the guy going and doing the walkthroughs and providing the family, the buyers, and I have relationships with almost all of them. And if this wasn't such a high-end project, I'd probably be able to they'd be the pre-sales, and we would sell their unit so they could have a new unit, like equal. So it's all the profit margins, it's the caring, it's the not maximizing, and you get to create something beautiful, something just like a memorable experience, and profits are just, they're higher. They're higher at the end of the day. And
Beautiful project.
I've proven it before, and Paul's trusted me and many investors, and I'm bubbling to get it past the finish line. At least this one, because I've never had a structure where I could make anything public. I've always done it with a partner. So this is the first time with multiple investors, and it's a great opportunity for me to gain trust of investors because I've gained trust of trades, suppliers, employees, home buyers, and this is feels like the last frontier.
Awesome.
And maybe public speaking one day, like Paul.
Awesome. Let's give him a round of applause. Dave, no question? Did you have a question for me or Dave?
For the square footage price.
Okay.
Any question about what's going south of the border going to affect it?
Oh, what a great question. Yeah. So for those who didn't hear online, what's your name? Maureen just asked, is there any concern of what's happening with the tariffs south of the border? So when that happened, I called Dave ASAP. I said, Dave, where's our building materials coming from? Are the tariffs going to affect it? He goes, what tariffs? I'm like, what? I go, no, we need to know every single material, where it's coming from. So he went and did a full audit on the whole thing. And the only thing that was potentially coming from the US was the glass. But the window frame and everything was still, so everything's built in Canada, Europe, and some in China, right?
It's still China, yeah.
But the
China, yeah.
majority is in Canada. So it's a Canadian-built building.
That's
Yeah.
about the I-beams and the steel.
That's why they're tariffing our steel, because we have it.
Yeah.
I'm using a Hambro truss system. They're manufactured in Calgary.
Okay.
So I don't understand how like we're not putting tariffs on ourselves. But Hambro, manufactured in Calgary, and the rep is from here in Vancouver. And again, superior system, and it just goes together faster.
That's great. I did hear that I-beams are made in South Carolina and shipped back.
Yeah, so it's not I-beams. They're Hambro steel trusses. They're their own patent technology that they used to be really popular, but there are a lot of garages where they develop the space underneath in a residential home. They put these 4-foot-on centers, and you can pull your whole vehicle onto these things. They support so much weight.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's I see it. I've done the I-beam way, and I've done this Hambro system, and the Hambro system's way more efficient.
And it's made in Canada.
Yeah.
And it's made in
And now,
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you. All right. Let's continue. And if we have more questions, we'll let you know. Wasn't he great? All right. So, competitive advantage, prime location, distinctive design, exceptional quality, rare combination sets development apart in a saturated condo market, fully integrated from land acquisition to the architectural design, to the construction, to the skills, to the trades and everything. So it's vertically integrated. And current traction, so we have now done the comprehensive due diligence, confirmed strong alignment between project vision, location, target market, and project costs with preliminary municipal support documented. milestones achieved. We've purchased the land already. And that's closed now. So the equity portion where investors can get involved is it's a 4 million equity piece. We've already raised 4.5. I think that number might be low, right, Constance? I think we've raised probably closer to, we'll call it 2.8, 2.9. So there's basically about $1 million left in terms of the equity component. And so you could invest inside any of your registered accounts. Obviously, if you're doing the TFSA, it'd be there'd be no tax on it, and it's 15%. So it is actually, I'll get to the development stuff in a second here. So with private equity, okay, you can either do that as a term sheet or an offering memorandum. So an offering memorandum is basically anyone can invest in that. You can be accredited, you can be eligible, it can be pretty much anybody. A term sheet is a little more limited. You have to be an accredited investor, or you have to be a friends or family, right? Friends, family, business associates. One of the allowable exemptions is $150,000 if in a corporation. You could have your own personal corporation. So if you're not eligible or accredited investor or friends and family, you could do that. That would be an allowable exemption. And with the offering memorandum, it's pretty much everybody. So we've done a term sheet on this one, just because it's a smaller project. Offering memorandum is a lot more money to do it. We'll probably do it on the next project, but this one is a term sheet. Okay, so you do have to be accredited or a friend, family, business associate, or put 150 into a corporation. Then you can do it that way. So $25,000 minimum in the project. And the other way, now, if you're not an accredited investor or friends or family, then there's another allowable exemption, which is called crowdfunding. Anyone heard of crowdfunding before? Okay. Crowdfunding it's an allowable exemption in the private equity market, and you can crowdfund with as little as $1. So, but could you imagine finding like 1 million people with $1, and you got to get them all to sign a subscription agreement? You got to get them all to go through all the due diligence for like $1. It becomes very cumbersome, right? So Addy, anyone heard of Addy before?
We've had Addy as a past guest speaker, absolutely.
Okay, perfect. So they're a software platform that has basically built out the crowdfunding, and it's all like done through software, right? And so we're just going through that process right now, and we should be Addy eligible, or like in about probably 3-4 weeks.
Yeah, they haven't put anything on the platform new for 3 months.
Okay.
We're eligible.
Yeah.
Waiting for them
to put it on there.
Some of their processes, yeah.
Yeah. So that would be another way. If you're not an accredited investor, you could go onto the Addy platform, and then our project will show up there probably in the next 3-4 weeks. And then the maximum with Addy is 10,000. So you can invest 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, and it's a way to get into these projects and make that kind of return with a smaller investment or not even being credited. Okay. So that is that. I think that's it. Oh, let me just get our contact info so you know how to actually get involved. So this project is 15% per annum. Okay. Plus a 2% bonus at the end. So if you invested 100 grand, you get an extra 2,000 at the end, plus your 15% per year going forward. And there's 2 ways you can do private equity. You can do either like you're part of the equity. So if the project does well, you do well. You can do better than projected rate of return. If it doesn't do as well, you don't do as well. Right? That's investing in equity. Or you can invest in debt. So we've done debt, meaning you're getting 15% no matter what. So if it goes up, then we get that. If it goes down, then we eat that. Okay, so it's set at 15% per year, per annum, plus the 2% bonus. So that's how that one works with ours. And it's all outlined in the term sheet, which you'd give that to your lawyer. They'd go through it all. You'd fully understand it. Any questions, you can ask our team about that. Okay. So if anyone's interested in that, you can go to phdmft.ca. You can just register there, and we'll send you out the full investor investor package. Or you can contact Wealthcare at PHT-MFT. You're welcome.
Awesome.
All right.
All right. Well, thank
Perfect.
Paul. Really appreciate you coming out. Round of
My
applause
pleasure.
for Paul. And again, contacts there if you guys are interested in knowing more about the fund, the project, anything like that. I highly encourage you guys to reach out to Paul, get more details on that. And it sounds like a super cool, and you can hear the passion in the developer as well. So absolutely, that's a big key indicator for me. And again, if you guys are looking to get into early access stuff as well, those early access agents, we're one of those ones. So Paul, really appreciate it. Thank you so much for coming out.